Do you ever just appreciate how all the little pieces fit together? How everything can be broken down into patterns of shapes, of colors, of lights and dark shadows. I've been probably staring at geometric shapes for way too many hours at this point. But yeah, it's created a really different type of visual experience in general, which I think is actually an interesting kind of side effect of art. It's, for me at least, it's such a visual medium. Even when I think of tactile art, I'm thinking of how it feels tactile on the eyes. And it just changes the way I look at literally everything. Everything is color and composition. I can't help but just visually break things down when I look at them, and I'm like, oh, that is that color butted up to that, just breaking it down into its most basic shapes, to the little pixel, if you will, visually. When you look at it, what exactly goes right there to make that color? And then you put enough of them together and it makes the leaf on a plant. And you just expand it further out to make the whole plant itself. The planter, with the planters hanging from the metal, the wall, and they're all just colors and shapes. I was talking to my partner the other day as we were driving down the road, and one of my favorite things that I see out the car window is when you're coming up on just a long expansive road, and either side is like trees and mountains, and it's just so picturesque. Especially, we happen to travel out to the Midwest to visit some family, and I hadn't been out there. We've been on the East Coast for a little while, and it was just great driving out to see the clouds just open up before us into gorgeous expanses of what can only be described as Bob Ross happy clouds, because I'm pretty sure sometimes he just gets up there and paints them. That's how they looked. And in looking here, you see not so happy colors. But they are colors I do rather enjoy. Sometimes I forget to get my red and my yellow and my black back out. I still am having a hard time reintroducing black into my palette, because now that I've taken color theory and have been examining it, there's so many better ways to put a sort of black look on a canvas and to mix it rather than just using black out of the tube, because I still can't decide on what black I really like. And if I'm mixing colors together, black itself, it doesn't offer. There is definitely a color range in there when you get into black. I like black accents in and of itself as something just applied and for negative spaces in the painting. But color mixing wise, there's much more beautiful ways to create more depth than to just use black. I don't like it. I haven't found an entirely better solution to making some colors darker, because there's other colors you can add. Black really does offer those shadows, but that's where, as you can see here, I'm using my thin layers like I always do, and so white and black each individually I actually enjoy as I wash over things. I think layers have become my biggest obsession in terms of how I'm painting. I like what it does. I think oil would honestly do a really, really beautiful job, but it takes forever to dry. And then you got the whole debate about level of toxicity from oils. Oil paints themselves honestly really aren't bad. If you're painting just with oil, it really starts to get into all the different ways that you can thin the paint and work with it. I should look more into that. But you do smell them. They smell different than acrylic. Acrylic don't really smell like anything. Doesn't necessarily mean it's safer, but it seems like it. Granted, there's a lot of additives you can put into acrylic paint just to make it do different things, different viscosity. You can add texture. I've got some paintings I want to video and work on here in the future that actually have some crackle texture on them that I really do enjoy. There's cool effects you can do, but it is a different ground from a normal painting, so the paint automatically looks different when it's painted on there. I've got to figure out that. I might put a layer of gloss between the two layers and they would be the same. Butterflies are deceptively tricky. Or what is that? Should I say that they look deceptively simple? And they're kind of simple in shape, but butterfly wings have vexed me for a long time since I was a small girl, because I love butterflies and I love trying to draw them. But I don't know, there's something that happens visually when you look at it. It's probably because their wings are meant to be a visual trick out in the wild. You know, a lot of things that animal-wise are colored certain ways are done with a specific purpose. And with butterflies, their wings are kind of specific to their flowers and their environment. So they are a visual trick. And breaking it down, I think it's because they're so complex, because you have the pattern. They have those beautiful colors and the way they interact with each other and the lights and darks. I actually do think color theory helps with understanding butterfly wings because, as I've mentioned before, colors look different depending on what you put them next to. It's the trick with painting. What looks a certain way on your palette is not necessarily going to look exactly the same when you put it up on the painting. So sometimes you have to put a color up there to just see it in its environment, and then you change it from there on your palette, tint it one way or another, just kind of color correct. And that is a nice thing about oils and acrylics both. They're really conducive to making a lot of layers, if that's the way you think, which is my personal preference. I do have a soft spot for watercolor. I enjoy watercolor. I admire watercolor artists. I want to get better at watercolor, but it does vex me because it is a tricky, different sort of thing. I used to say you have to think about it in reverse, and that's not quite true, because watercolor is still about a great many layers, just in a different way. And this right here is a script liner brush. No, well, it's a sign painter's brush, which goes back to sometimes you learn lovely things and you pick them up and, oh, look at that. That's the tool I wanted all along. I've been dying to get those lines, and now I did. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.